Just a behind-the-scenes note. I was speaking with somebody yesterday who pointed out it was a really long gospel reading. And I pointed out to them, yes, and I chopped 10 verses off that. So sometimes the whole story doesn't come out. Do you know who I am? American Express, if you're of a certain age, you'll remember that American Express had this long-running series of commercials that featured celebrities, people that were well-known. And the tagline to those commercials was that person saying, "Do you know who I am?" Or "Do you know me," rather. And of course, then they would hold up their American Express card. And you'd see that they were proud American Express card holders. Today's gospel reading made me think of that. Now, sometimes, of course, that same question seems to surface every once in a while in a slightly different form. Usually when a celebrity gets pulled over by the cops. And whenever we hear the tape of that question comes out, "Do you know who I am?" The implication of that, of course, is I'm way too important to be stopped by the likes of you. Of course, in those cases, it doesn't matter who you are. You're still getting stopped. But all of these things were kind of going through my head reading this gospel lesson today because of Jesus' response to the Samaritan woman. After he asked her to give him a drink, and she challenges him and says, "Why are you, a Jew, asking me, a Samaritan, for a drink?" In her experience, and you have to put this in the cultural context of the time, in her experience that would be like a white man in the 1950s going up to a black woman at a water fountain that was just for black people and asking for her to give him a drink. And Jesus' response to that is to say, basically, "Lady, if you knew who I was, you'd be asking me for water." And from there, that conversation turns to the whole discussion of living water. And this living water seems to be pretty remarkable stuff from what Jesus is saying, because if you drink of the living water, you'll never be thirsty again. If you drink of the living water, you're dipping into the spring of water gushing up to eternal life. So what is this stuff? Where do we get it? You know, those are pretty extravagant claims. It sounds kind of like a first century medicine man rolled into town, selling living water out of the back of his wagon. Let's look at this a little more, see what we can figure out. First, I want to give you a little bit of detail about Jacob's well. It's kind of in the background there. That's where this happens. But we don't know much about it, at least not from the gospel lesson. Jacob's well dates back to ancient times. It was ancient when this was written, 2,000 years ago. And it's tied directly to ancestors of the Israelite nation. And as wells go, it's kind of a heck of a well, because modern measurements, and they know which one this was, modern measurements place it at about 135 feet deep. There's 15 feet of water at the bottom of that. So getting water out of it was hard work, even back then. But even though it's hard work, it's been a dependable source of water for thousands of years. It's kept people and livestock alive for thousands of years. So it's pretty amazing. But it's not living water. So what is living water then? If you put it in the context of the language and the culture, it turns out that living water is actually a common term at that time for spring water. Water that flows out of the ground naturally. So why is that important? Dig a little bit deeper. That was a well joke. If you dig a little bit deeper, and there's another part of Jewish culture and religion of the time that becomes important. It's something called a mikvah. The mikvah is a cleaning or a cleansing bath or pool. Traditionally, it was deep enough for a person to walk into and immerse themselves completely in the water. And by submerging yourself in the mikvah and then walking out the other side, that was an act of purification. So if you were impure for some reason, you go into the mikvah, you go through the water and you come out and you're made clean. Those who approach the inner parts of the temple in Jerusalem immerse themselves in a mikvah in order to be pure enough to approach God in his earthly home. According to scholars, the pool at Bethesda where Jesus healed a blind man was likely a mikvah for people that were preparing to enter the temple. And what makes it important is that only living water that was flowing from a spring or a river, but only living water had the power to purify somebody who had gone into a mikvah. It was fed by living water. So if you think about that, all of a sudden the symbolism of it all just sort of springs into place. That was a spring jump. Again. No laughs. But it all kind of comes into place because here you have Jesus, who's the Messiah, and he identified himself as such to this woman. Jesus essentially said, the water, what used to be life-giving water from Jacob's well here, that's not sufficient. The water you get that is tied to your ancestral heritage and your faith is not sufficient. This life-giving, what used to be life-giving water that you get from the well of your ancestors just doesn't do the job. It won't save you. It won't change you. It won't cleanse you. It won't help you reconnect with God. Then he goes on to say, the water that I can give you, the living water, will do all those things. The living water, Jesus says, that you get from me is a spring gushing up to eternal life within you. It washes you clean. That's a heck of a promise. Not only does living water cleanse us, but it satisfies our thirst to be in relationship with God again. It saves us. And it's ours. Just for the asking. It's an extravagant claim from this Messiah. And I've struggled to try to get a handle. Jesus talks about living water, and now we kind of have a sense of what it is, but I struggle to put it into a context that is more familiar to me. And I came to wonder this week if Jesus is talking about grace. Because when you peel back the symbolism of what he's talking about, it sounds an awful lot like grace to me. It's what he promises. What he promised this woman. Life. Eternal life and forgiveness that flows out from God. It's kind of like the first part of our Old Testament reading today. Where the people of Israel are out in the desert, out in the wilderness, and they're running out of water and they're getting pretty cranky. And Moses goes to God and he says, I don't know what I'm going to do with these guys. They're getting ready to kill me. And God instructs him to go to this particular rock and strike it. And when he does so, that opens up a spring of living water. And it flows out and it brings life. Just as we are separated from God and we are wandering in the wilderness of sin, and all of a sudden, grace comes to us from God. Jesus comes and he says, here, I bring you life. Life without end. If you want it. Drink deeply, Jesus says. Drink deeply and let your heart be lifted from the darkness. What you got to do is ask. I think it's no accident that Jesus had this particular conversation with a Samaritan woman. It's no accident that he outed himself as the Messiah to somebody who already had 2 strikes against them in his culture. First, because she was a woman. Second, because she was a Samaritan. She was like the lower class of the lower class. But that was not an accident, because Jesus' whole mission, his whole ministry here, was built on seeking out those kinds of people. He didn't hang out with the powerful and the connected. He reached out to the least and the lost, to the people who were struggling to find earthly ways to satisfy their thirst. And always coming back thirsty. Jesus came to reach out to the people who were trying to fill the God-sized hole in their heart with things that were not of God, finding out that it never quite did the job. Jesus came to people like her, people who struggled, until Jesus says, take this living water. Drink. Fill yourself. Be washed clean. And you'll never be thirsty again. And in this season of Lent, where we consider our own sinful states, this is a message of hope. Drink deep living water. It's there. It's flowing. It's yours. Drink deep and let your soul be freed from the darkness, and let your hearts be lifted from sin. What Jesus offers us. Drink deep of the living water and you'll never be thirsty again. And that's a promise from Jesus.